We're back here on the first stop in your busy day, and we're going to be putting the spotlight on a pivotal moment in our country's history, the 1970 Black Power Revolution, about which a documentary has been made by D'Angelo Productions. In with us to talk more about it is Joseph Valley, the director of the documentary Black Power Revolution, Trinidad and Tobago, 1970. Let the truth be told. Good morning, and thanks for joining us. This is a labor of love that you've been working on for quite some time now.
So it's approximately 3 years. I've been working on this documentary. The documentary, it documents the timeline of the 1970 Trinidad and Tobago Revolution. You know that it's something that is of historical significance to Trinidad and Tobago. One of the things we wanted to do is to document the history of the Black Power Revolution and preserve it in a different format, documentary, medium, DVD, where you can look at it. Also, it's catering for secondary schools, universities, and the general public, because I spoke to some students who who went to university 20, 25, and they said, Mr. Valley, we don't know anything about the Black Power Revolution. We didn't even know it had a Black Power Revolution in Trinidad and Tobago. So, it's important. This documentary is important.
It's significant. What was your process like? This must have been quite a labor of love for you in terms of getting accurate information to create that timeline for the documentary.
That is one of the things that was really challenging, because I wanted to make sure that the content and the dates were correct, it was authentic, because you cannot do a documentary and have dates that are not correct. So the research from the Express archives, the Vanguard newspaper, right? That is OWTU library, and even the Tapia newspaper got a lot of information from these newspaper archives. Also, Sir George Williams University, now Concordia University, I have been contacting the archives department, and they were really helpful, as well as the National Archives in UK. So the research, it was really challenging.
In terms of, were you able to link up with actual people who were involved, and what was your interaction with them like? Is it that they had a sort of a rosy, hazy look at how things were back then? Was it traumatic for them to go back to that time and relive everything? How did they respond to the work that you were doing?
Some responded very emotional. I interviewed, of course, Brother Kafa Kambon, right? And he really, tell the story of what took place, what time NJAC was formed and all that. Sometimes, I was in Woodford Square, talking to one or two persons who were involved. And one gentleman actually is like he was brought to tears, because it was things that how things had changed during how things was at that time to how it had changed, and the opportunities that they got.
To put a pause, we got to take a break for the news, and we're going to continue our discussion with you after the news.
Yeah, sure.
We're talking to Joseph D'Angelo Valley, director of the Black Power Revolution, Trinidad and Tobago, 1970. News is next, and we come back with more after that.
9 minutes after 8 o'clock is our time here on First Up, the first stop in your busy day. It's time for your word of the day for today, Tuesday, April the 17th. The word is odious, extremely unpleasant, repulsive. It also means deserving of hatred or repugnance. I'm trying to use that in a sentence, but I can't think of anything right now. Paul?
Men accused of molesting young boys and people accused of abusing young children have an odious disposition.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Yes. Okay, we are continuing to put our focus on the amazing new documentary from Giangelo Productions. Joseph Valley, director, still in with us here as we look at the 1970 Black Power Revolution here in Trinidad and Tobago. The documentary titled Let the Truth Be Told. Here's a sneak peek at what's in the documentary.
Black Power was actually a term coined in the civil rights movement of the United States, actually by Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael, who was a Trinidadian.
The colonials were still around, the ideology was still there, and we had to find ways to either destroy it or circumvent the white supremacy thing.
I said to him in an authoritative tone, "Sir, you're under arrest," and pointed the rifle to him. And his immediate response was to lunge at me and grab the muzzle of the rifle.
When McConnell, Dagger and this renewed Black Power movement, and they opened the doors, it was not only doors for, it was for Africans, because many people benefited from my own communities.
The natural resources of our country is in the hands of a few. So then, how do you change that, right? You change that by revolutionary action. Because
democracy means equality of opportunity for all.
The same things that we fought to change then need changing again now. What you may want to avoid it having to have confrontation on the streets and all that. But the essence of revolution is not the confrontation on the streets or with guns. The essence of revolution is the change in people's minds and the change of structure that can come about from that.
Wow.
So a riveting documentary there from Joseph Valley, director of Let the Truth Be Told, the Black Power Revolution of 1970. Can't wait to get my hands on it.
Yes.
When is it going to be available?
Well, the documentary will be premiering at, on April 21st, significant date, at the JFK Lecture Theatre at the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine at 6 p.m.
Was the process of making this documentary, because you've spoken about this, you've been working on this for quite a while, 3 years initially, but you certainly had been planning it long before that. What was most surprising to you about doing this documentary, documenting this important, critical piece of our history in Trinidad and Tobago?
Actually, Paul, I learned a lot while documenting, the 1970 Black Power Revolution, because even though I plan and I say, okay, I need to do this documentary, what equipment I'm going to use, how am I going to do it, what look I want this documentary to have. Then when I started doing research now, I realized that, okay, these are some of the things that used to go on in the 1970s. This is what used to happen, but some books said this, but then you realize, this is not the case. So, in research too, you were learning so much from the research. So, from the planning stage, buying the right equipment, to the research, to production, it was just a learning process, because, during production, although you plan, then when you reach in production, you realize things change.
Let's talk about your budget. I read over $600,000.
Yes.
More than $500,000 to do this.
Yes. Now, in terms of doing the documentary, I had a vision. I wanted 4 music videos to represent, it was the April 21st. So for the 4th month, 4 music videos, I wanted 21 tracks, and I did original song tracks for the documentary, which some of the artists will be performing at the premiere of the documentary. Archival footage from abroad is very expensive, right? If you want archival footage, you have to pay, and you have to pay a good sum.
You were telling us during the news break, for a headline from a foreign archival institution, 1,800 US,
yes.
1,800 US for a headline.
Just for a headline.
40 US per second for archival footage.
Yes, for moving images.
Are we moving closer to the quality of archival material you were able to get from outside locally?
In terms of archival material, Trinidad, I got a lot of archival material. I got a lot of photographs. I got a lot from the newspaper articles. In terms of moving images, it was very limited. Moving images, get more moving images from BBC, you'll get from the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation and so on. But from Trinidad, the moving images were very limited, but still, in terms of the photographs and the newspaper articles, you know, I got a lot of that from Trinidad.
What do you want people to take away from this?
Actually, it's an educational experience. At the end of it, you know, when you look at it, you must understand that the Black Power Revolution was about Trinidadians. It wasn't about one group of persons alone. It was about Trinbagonians, Trinidad and Tobago. It was about the people wanting equal opportunity, wanting to be treated as equals. If I am qualified for the job, I must get the job. Not because I'm an East Indian or African, you say I cannot get the job, right? Equal opportunity for all.
Did any of the people that you interviewed for the documentary express concern that some of the gains made by the revolution may have been lost or eroded over time?
Yes, that came out of the documentary. They were looking at, during that time, the 1970, you know, speaking to some of the brothers, they said they were very conscious at that time in terms of education, treating, having respect for women. It was a different time. Then over the years, they realized that, you know, that just, it eroded.
The screening date once again?
Screening date,
April 21st, JFK Lecture Theatre.
JFK Lecture Theatre, 6 p.m. From 6 to 7, performances by some of the people who did original soundtracks. From 7 to 9, the documentary will be premiered.
Joseph Valley, congratulations. What's
Thanks
next?
Very much.
1990?
I did the documentary in 2 parts. I have a part 1 from colonialism to the February 26th revolution, and the part 2 will be from February 26th to the April 21st mutiny.
All right, we'll be talking to Joseph J. Angelo Valley, Director of Black Power Revolution in Trinidad and Tobago. And let the truth be told, 1970 comes alive on the 21st of April at UWI's JFK Lecture Theatre. We'll take a short break and first up and come back with more. Stay with us.